The Rock and Roll and Coffee Show is brought to you by Retroactive, located at Broadway at the Beach in Myrtle Beach, South Carolina, taking you back to the 70s, 80s, and 90s. ShopRetroactive.com. Pick up your bottle of the Rock and Roll and Coffee Show Hot Rockin' Hot Sauce now at Retroactive or rnrcoffeeshow.com.
It's the Rock and Roll and Coffee Show. Yeah, with Joe.
All right, so you have a movie coming out, Wineville, that you not only star in, you are directing it as well, correct?
Yes, and produced.
And produced.
Oh, yes. Yeah.
Wow. So is this
Yeah.
your directorial debut?
Yes.
And tell me a little bit about this movie and how it got on your radar.
Well, it got on my radar because I had been helping to produce some other films, and COVID was kind of still lurking around, and SAG was not really casting things yet. You had to have special permission and stuff to even do a movie. So work is just completely limited. And I was like, you know what? I'm just going to create my own movie. I'm just going to put something out there. And I absolutely love horror. I grew up on thrillers and horrors. And I also asked around to a lot of my producer friends, what makes the most money, and what movie makes money? Because I'm also a very shrewd business person as well. And they said horror films, like genre horror films, are the easiest to sell, and you'll be able to, make your money back. So having this in mind, I have a very good friend who owns a winery in Miraloma, California, and went to him and he said, come here, you can shoot at my winery. And his winery is spectacular. It is very beautiful, but you go there and it is the backdrop of a horror film. Like it's, it just has all the old barns, and it was, built in the early 1900s. And it has he still has all the old farm equipment from like the 20s and even earlier that are on this farm. So it really has some really cool, spooky characteristics to it. The writer and myself went to this location, and we knew we had this fantastic location, and myself and my son, who was going to be in the movie. And I wanted to do a great movie where there's this wonderful relationship between a mother and son, and the mother is going to do anything to save her son from evil. So that's kind of where it started. And then we started writing from there.
So this was your initial idea, the whole story?
Myself and Richard, the writer.
Richard.
Yes,
Okay.
we came up with the story. We would go back and forth, and came up with this really messed up in the head movie.
It is. I had the chance to check it out, and I got to say it was really good. And the ending, I'm not going to say anything about it, but I didn't see that coming.
Yeah, and you know what? That's the one thing that I love about this film is the plot twists. Like it's stuff that you had no idea, and you're like, what the heck? And that's the one thing that I deliver and that I love about this film, as people are going to be blown away.
Yes, I think so.
Yeah.
Now, to come up with something like that, I mean, how long did that take you to put all the pieces together?
We are going on 3 years.
Oh, wow.
From start to finish. So pre-production was probably about a year, putting everything together, writing the story, hiring everybody, figuring out the money situation. And then the shooting itself was only 2 weeks. And then you have post-production, which took a year. And then selling it, and now finally it's coming out. I mean, it's been a long process.
Mm-hmm. And were you involved in every step of the way?
Every step of the way.
Like
everything. I did everything.
Okay. Did you hold auditions, and were you involved in all that kind of stuff?
Absolutely. Yeah. Yep.
Awesome. So
and that was fun for me. I really enjoyed that part, seeing all the actors. And the hard part is, which I didn't realize, but all the actors were great. Like I loved all the performances, and you almost wish you can hire them all. But you have a specific character in your mind, so when you see that person, you know which one you're going to pick. But it's hard because you see how much work everybody puts into those auditions, and they were all good.
And your son plays, was his name Walter in the movie?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Okay. So how did he get involved in this? Did he ask or did you just bring him in?
We had done one or two. I can't even remember if he was in that other movie. But one other movie before, it was a Christmas movie called Ace and the Christmas Miracle. And he played my son in that as well. So he's a great actor. So it was already a given that he was going to be in the movie. But now he's all about football, and he's like, Mom, I don't really want such a big role next time. I'll still be in the movie, but not as big of a role, because he just wants to play football now.
Yeah. Yeah. Has he watched it? Did you let him watch it?
Hmm.
He did.
Yeah, I did. And at first, when we first shot it, he was only like 11 or 12. And I was like, he ain't watching this, I'm gonna have to cut out all the scenes. Um, but he's 14 now. So that's how long it's been, right? So now he already knows about the content that happens in the movie, which I don't want to give it away, but obviously there's some very serious things that you wouldn't want a child to know about. But now he's 14, so I let him watch it.
Did he like it?
I think it was, it was weird for him to see himself, and he thought he looked like a nerd, and it's 2 years ago, so he didn't like the way his hair was. He was being critical of himself. But he liked the plots, the twists.
Yeah. Now you had mentioned the location earlier. I mean, I thought everything was perfect with that.
Yeah.
It
Yeah.
worked out perfect. Now the film is set like a while ago, right?
1978. Yeah.
Yeah. And you had that feel in there just at that location. Everything just seemed like it was 1978.
Still in that time. Yeah.
Yeah.
And there's so many things that you actually have to think about as a filmmaker that you wouldn't have normally thought about. It's in 1978. So even when you're shooting, let's say in a room, guess what? There's a modern thermostat on the wall, right? So you got to cover that. There was a case when we were in one of the barns, and there was a modern fire hydrant. Excuse me, yeah, not a fire hydrant. What are they? That put out fires.
Fire extinguisher.
Like a fire extinguisher. There was a modern one. So in post-production, we caught that, and I had to get that erased from the movie, because you have to think of all the little things, because there's going to be someone that's going to be like, oh, well, that wasn't from the 70s. You know what I mean? So it's like, you have to watch everything. So even when you're on set, and even afterwards, when you're in post-production, you're constantly watching everything when you're doing a period piece, and make sure that everything's right.
Yeah. Did anything get by you? Is there anything that you saw after?
Not that I know of, so we'll see. And if there was something, I'm sure someone's going to mention it.
Someone
So
will point
so
it out, right?
far, there's been nothing. I've been good.
Yeah.
Knock
Yeah.
on wood.
What was the hardest part about directing for you?
Um, well, I mean, I think being in both places at one time, that's hard, right? But I'm really lucky, because my mentor, Richard Shankman, who's also the writer and one of the producers, he is an amazing director. So he was there with me 24/7, because I had never done it before. So having him there almost made it effortless, really, having him be there with me. And I don't want to say effortless, because that's not the right word, because it's a lot of hard work playing and wearing multiple hats. But when you love what you do, even though it's hard, it doesn't feel like work, if that makes sense. You can still work, 15 hours a day, and although you're tired and it's freaking hard, you just love it, and you just can't wait for the next day.
Yeah. Yeah. Is it hard to separate from director and then go and act? Like going back and forth, is it hard to, do you get out of character? I guess that's what I'm asking.
It was hard, but there were so many times when something would pop up. Like I was in the middle of a scene with Margaret. My aunt Margaret, and it was a very intense scene. And had to stop because we got this call from SAG that we had to talk to them right away because there was an issue with someone that they found out had gotten COVID on set, and they needed to talk to me to make sure that my set is safe. And, so I literally, we're in the middle of shooting. I'm like, okay, I had to leave and go do a Zoom with SAG, which I don't know if you know this world, but it was very nerve-wracking because they could shut you down. That. So I'm like thinking, holy shit, my life savings is into this, everybody's here. And I had to go talk with SAG, and then thankfully everything's fine. And I had to then go and get back into that scene, which was hard. But then again, as an actress, you use what you have. So that kind of then fueled, what I was going through in the scene, and was able to use that, thankfully. But stuff like that happened all the time, where stuff, came up. Somebody sprayed spray paint in their face by accident, and, have to deal with that and leave set, go deal. I mean, there was just, as a producer, you just go through so much stuff.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
You had mentioned earlier about the horror genre and how you love it. It's been your favorite movies growing up?
I loved like the Texas Chainsaw Massacre, Last House on the Left. Like I loved that. Psycho, The Birds. I love old school thriller, horror, psychological stuff. But I really also love, like one of my favorite horror movies was Nightmare on Elm Street. And I love, that's very psychological, right? It's in your head, your dreams. But yeah, I was influenced by a lot of horror films back in the day.
I was going to say Wineville, if I had to pick one that it reminded me, the feel of it would be Texas Chainsaw without the chainsaws.
Yeah, yeah. I feel like because that's a serial killer family, right? That mixed with Psycho, there was some elements of that, right? With the really messed up son. Yeah, very much in the head, just a very messed up families for sure.
Yeah, yeah. Well, again, it's a great movie, and it's coming out September 10th, I want to say. Is that correct?
Yes, September 10th. Yeah.
Okay. So
Yeah.
where can people watch this movie?
They can stream it anywhere. You can go on Amazon, Apple, Google Play, any of your cable providers. If you have DirecTV or Spectrum, you can, watch it anywhere. Also, what I'm excited about is we decided to do a DVD. So if you go on the website, I'm doing autographed DVDs for people that like to collect. And I know a lot of horror fans like to collect DVDs, so I'm going to autograph them. And that's on the website, which is winevillemovie.com.
Is that available now?
It will be after the 10th.
After the 10th. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Awesome.
Yeah.
I'll try and put a link to that in the show notes on this.
Yeah,
so
that would be
people listening
fantastic.
can go check it out.
Yeah, that would be great.
Let's go back a little bit to kind of when you started your career. Were you always wanting to be in the entertainment industry?
Yeah, as far back as I can remember. Like when I was 6 years old, I used to put on performances in my living room, and I'd go out to all the neighbors and sell tickets and put a time on it, and everybody would come and watch the performances that I would direct with myself and all the kids in the neighborhood. But yeah, so it's something that's been in me. I love entertainment and producing. So,
And was modeling your first step into it,
no.
or did you act?
Acting was as far as when I moved to Hollywood, when we moved to LA, did, TV shows like 90210, did 2 episodes of Love Boat, a few other things. And then my first series regular role was Baywatch. And then I became a playmate April 2000, which was when I left to go shoot Baywatch. So those 2 came out simultaneously, which was pretty cool.
Okay. Okay. I was trying to figure out what came first, with the Playboy or the Baywatch.
Yeah, they came out at exactly the same time.
Wow.
Yeah.
How that was a good year for you.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, for sure.
So how did did that really change your career, being on that show?
Well, it definitely was the best job I ever had. And it was the most memorable and wonderful experience to be able really to live in Hawaii and have like such a close-knit family with all the other actors, because we were living on an island together. So for me, it was hands down the best job I ever had. So, I feel like it's a combination of Baywatch, being the #1 watch show in the world, and Playboy being so popular. I mean, Playboy's probably one of the most popular things that you say it, everybody knows it, right? So I feel like a combination of the two of those is really what changed the trajectory of my life and got me on the path that I've been on with film and television.
And then you were on a lot of reality TV shows too.
Mm-hmm.
Well,
Yeah.
how does that happen? Do they call you and say, "Do you want to be on this?" Or do you call them up and say, "I want to be on this"? How does that work?
Both,
Okay.
both ways. So I've gotten calls for different reality shows to come on the shows, and then my agent has pitched me on certain reality shows. So it's happened both ways. But I do love reality too. It's a lot of fun, and I say that it's less work, but yet it's not, because on the Celebrity Apprentice we worked like 18-hour days, and it was freaking hard. It's a lot of hard work, but it's easy in the sense that you don't have to audition. You don't have to prepare your scene. You don't have to get, you know, in the scene and have to be somebody else and take that home with you, especially if you're doing such a dramatic role. In reality, you just get to be yourself, you don't have to worry about anything. So there is a lightness about that. And it is fun because you get to work with other fun celebrities that are your friends. So it's more like working with your friends and having fun.
Or are they following you all day long with those cameras?
Like with the Celebrity
Yeah,
Apprentice.
yeah.
No, when we're in the mornings, when we're doing hair and makeup, they aren't in there. Then they shoot us all day, and then when we're done, we go home and sleep for a few hours and then start up all over again.
You did fairly well on that show, if I recall,
Yeah,
right?
yeah, I ended up being on every episode. I didn't win, Joan Rivers won, but great experience, a lot of fun.
Mhm.
I prepared very heavily for that show.
What do you do to prepare for something like that?
I watched all the previous episodes, all the previous seasons, saw what I needed to do, which was make connections. And so I called everybody I know, not only asking how they could help me, but if they had friends that could help me that lived in New York, because part of it would be like, we need to get free posters printed up, or we need somebody to come out and videograph this, or we need somebody to donate. So I went ahead of time and I made this book of hundreds of people and what they could do and their phone numbers. And I used that, and it came in handy, and I used it all the time and called upon celebrity friends to help with certain tasks, and made sure I was prepared.
That's a great idea.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, it seemed
I'm
to
an
work.
over preparer for sure.
And then you made it to All Stars, right?
Yeah.
Celebrity Apprentice All
Yeah.
Stars. Now, who was on that show with you? Was Brett Michaels on with you on that one?
On All Stars, yes. Brett
Okay.
Michaels was on that one. Uh, Trace Atkins, again, LaToya Jackson, Dennis Rodman again, Omarosa, Penn Gillette. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, a lot.
And
I
I
can't
think
think of it.
is that when Brett won with his
No, Brett went out the first episode on that one. It was
okay.
between Brett and I, actually, and he
Oh,
ended up.
really? Okay.
Yeah.
All I remember from I used to watch that show, and then he won, I believe, with his iced tea or something, his Snapple tea or
Yeah,
something.
he won on his original season. Yeah.
That was good tea. I liked it.
Yeah, he's great. I love Brett. He's a sweetheart.
Yeah, yeah. How about Fear Factor? Because you were on that as well.
Yeah.
How does that show work? Do they tell you what you're going to face or what's
No,
happening?
you don't know
No.
what you're gonna do.
Jeez.
And I'm afraid of heights. And the very first task that we had to do was hang from this huge, massive crane head first from our feet, just dangling from our feet and being catapulted head first into a pool of water. and we had to grab these flags underwater when we were getting catapulted into the water. And I grabbed almost all the flags and did the best out of everybody except one person. Only one other person did more than me, and he was an ex-Marine. So because I did so good, they ended up voting me off because I was the biggest competition after that. Yeah, I was like,
Yeah, you should
damn
have
it.
played it the other way. And
Because I was with Todd Bridges, was my teammate, and he got 0 flags. Had he just gotten 1 flag, then our team would have won.
dang it, Todd.
I know. That's it. Yeah,
I
I
think
know.
watching that show, as you're watching it at home, you're always like, oh, well, I could do that. But I think when it comes to like the snakes, that's where I would
Yeah.
have trouble with.
Yes. I mean, that would be tough. Snakes would be tough. And you know what? It's so funny how it's kind of a blessing in disguise that I ended up going after that task, because the next task was where you had to be in this tiny capsule. And I'm very claustrophobic, in this tiny capsule with your partner, and water is raising up inside this tiny capsule,
Oh,
and you're
no.
locked in. Can you
Yeah.
imagine that?
Yeah, I wouldn't do
So,
without that.
and I think Tracy Bingham was in there with I think who was her teammate? Leif, remember Leif, the singer?
Garrett?
Garrett, yeah.
Yeah,
I think the two
fair.
of them were in one. But yeah, and Joe Rogan was the host at that time. But yeah, so I was kind of glad I didn't get to go and have to do that, because that would have been really creepy.
Yeah, yeah. I think though with those kind of things, I would think that you're safe. I mean, they're not going to let you die, but
I know
you
they
know,
say that, but you never know, right? Like all of a sudden, like, oh shit, the water won't turn off. And
yeah,
you know,
it could happen.
and
Yeah, I
the
guess
thing's
so.
jammed,
Yeah,
and you're in a steel container. So it's not like they're gonna be able to break you out.
yeah, yeah. That's fun
Yeah.
stuff. You have a fun career. Now you're
I've
making
done
movies.
yes. Yes, I'm very lucky and blessed, definitely.
Yeah. Do you see yourself directing more films in the future?
If I do directing, I would do co-directing with someone. But 100% producing and acting.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah.
Now you have some other ones coming up, I believe, don't you? Or no? I
And what, more
I thought
films?
I thought I saw your name linked with a film Anomaly or something.
Oh, yeah, yeah, yeah. We haven't shot that yet, though.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's just starting.
Mhm.
Okay.
Yeah, that's just starting. That's in pre-production.
Yeah.
Um, and I'm just an actress in that one. And then what just came out yesterday is the Baywatch documentary, and that's on Hulu. So that's 4 episodes. Um, and then I have my movie Twisted Vines. That just came out actually on Hulu as well, I think. Um, so yeah, yeah,
You're staying busy.
everything's
Yeah.
exciting. Yeah, definitely staying busy.
Yeah. How about that Baywatch documentary? Were you involved in that? Are you in
Not
there?
on the producing side, just as an actress, just talking, sharing my story. And we had the premiere the other night, which was a lot of fun, seeing everybody, like a big reunion.
Yeah. Was everyone there? Most people?
Yeah, everyone that lives in town, and actually there were people that flew in, like Alexandra Paul. They live in Oregon, and she flew in. Pam lives in Canada, so she couldn't come. And David lives in Europe, so he couldn't come. But everyone that lives in town or within a quick flight came.
Do you
Yeah.
still talk to Jason Momoa?
The last time I saw Jason, I saw him a couple of years ago. We did an autograph signing. So it was fantastic to see him. And, I got to bring my son. My son came with me to work. So he got to, hang out and talk to Aquaman, which was, really cool for him. So I was like the cool mom for a day.
Yeah, if you look at him on Baywatch and now he's like a different person.
Yeah, well, he a lot bigger, right?
Just a little bit
A lot
there. Yeah.
bigger, and I would say and longer hair, except we did do the Baywatch Hawaiian Wedding movie, which was on Fox, and he had the long hair then, so it was kind of already starting. He had the long hair, he was getting bigger, but now he's definitely a lot bigger in size and in his career.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. All right, Brandy. Well, I appreciate you taking time to talk to me
Yeah.
about Wineville coming out September 10th.
Yep.
And then people can go and get the DVD autographed
Yep.
from your website, and we'll have
Yep.
that in the show notes.
Yep.
So,
Perfect.
great movie. Congratulations
Thank
on its
you.
release.
Thank you so much. Well, I hope that you have a fantastic day and we'll see you next time.
All right. Thank you.
Okay. All right. Have a good one.